Recreation Board in accordance with the Town Board's adoption of Local Law Number 14 of 2022. The board's meetings are being held both in person at Town Hall and via video conference through Zoom webinar. The link to participate in this meeting via video conference can be found on the town's website at the town clerk's agendas and meetings portal. You can also watch the live stream video and submit written comments for the public record through the town website. If you are attending via Zoom and wish to speak during this meeting, then please click the raise hand icon. As a reminder to all applicants, agents, and members of the public who wish to speak at the meeting, please state your name and Hamlet residence for the record. Thank you. I invite everyone to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What is your pleasure on the meeting, on the minutes of the meeting of October 23rd, 2024?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearings, A021093, 134 Sand Dune, 142 Sand Dune, 134 Sand Dune, 134, 142, and 152 Sand Dune Court, Village of Sycamore. And the applicant requests adjournment to December 4th, 2024. Is there anyone in the public who'd like to speak in this application?
Motion.
There being none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn to December 4th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A024009, Fiona Sabani.
Good evening. Daphne Vaughn, Surfside Environmental Planning for the owner, Fiona Sabani. So at the last meeting, we had a lengthy discussion about this project, which is some minor additions, second floor addition, excuse me, and some deck expansion on the existing residence in close proximity to wetlands. Our discussion was mainly about the recommended naturally vegetated wetlands non-disturbance non-fertilization buffer, which was drawn in a sketch by Marty Shea, and I had submitted my own counter sketch. We had a discussion, and we ended the meeting with an in-between sketch, particularly for the buffer area adjacent to the pond, right visible from the residence. I was tasked with cleaning up that scribble sketch for this meeting and to provide a planting plan for any portions of the buffer area that are currently lawn. So my office submitted on Monday this plan, which you should have copies of in the file. That shows this area to the north of the residence, which we had initially proposed per the DEC's requirements for the issuance of their permit. We're showing the majority of this to be revegetated with native shrubs. And then this area right adjacent to the pond from this part all the way around, we will restore the portion of wetlands that's currently lawn underneath some tupelo trees that were flagged, and then this sketched buffer within the lawn area. And all of that, as was discussed, would be revegetated with ferns and low-lying grasses and perennials. All of the species that I chose for this planting plan were checked off from Mr. Shea's list that was provided with his preliminary advisory report. And just to remind the board, we also discussed that my client will upgrade the sanitary system, which is an older standard system right now, to an IA system, even though Mr. Shea is not requiring that in his report as mitigation. So in lieu of the larger buffer, particularly in this area, we are planning to do that sanitary upgrade. In addition to these plantings, which comprise a fairly significant area of the property, I estimate it to be about 15,000 square feet of plantings, which is significant. So that was what I understood. I'm here for today to present this to you.
What do you want? What do you want? Here, I got it right here.
Let's pass this plan, the buffer plan out. Just so we can see that. It's very difficult for me to see on the screen.
I got an email of it earlier today.
The real life image
Maybe
does wonders.
I have a copy of that.
What are you saying?
Yeah, it should be these 11 by 17s.
Yeah.
Pass that down there. Seb?
Isn't that the same as this?
No, I don't think. It's the one you have.
Yeah.
Not the one.
Is that
I
the
don't
same?
know what he has.
I don't have the right one.
Oh, you.
This goes as well as
Thanks, Tom.
So this is your current suggested buffer, is that correct?
So this is basically a reiteration of the sketch that was discussed and, to my knowledge, agreed upon by the entire board at the last meeting. Since it was kind of chicken scratched in, you asked for me to make it neater, and you asked for a planting plan. So I basically resketched the sketch, showing the areas for revegetation, both in the area to the south and east of the house, as well as just to the north, which we had initially shown.
Okay, and
So
just for clarification, there's an area, there's a wood dock that goes into the pond,
Yes,
labeled pond, and then labeled pond edge, and then behind that, wetlands to be restored.
yes,
That area where it says wetlands to be restored currently is lawn.
correct.
right? And that planting plan is for that area.
Yep, and an extension into the green dotted area, which would be buffer.
Okay. Okay. Does the board have any questions?
Good evening, Marty Shea, Chief Environmental Analyst for the town. I'll be brief. As indicated at the prior hearing on the application, I do not support the project plans, as the buffer that is being offered doesn't comply with the standards for wetland permit issuance, and it's wholly insufficient to provide adequate protection for the wetlands or to offer sufficient natural habitat for wetland dependent wildlife. As this board knows, Chapter 325 recommends that for existing developed properties, the buffer be a minimum of 75 feet, landward of the wetland boundary. I had shared with the board at the prior hearing an alternate sketch that provided for significant additional buffering. The buffer plan, which has been presented to the board tonight, provides for at a minimum 10-foot buffer, widening to 25 and 30-foot buffer. I know of no case before the board where the board has accepted such minimal natural buffer for a freshwater wetland system that is highly valued, such as the wetlands that are found on this property. As indicated, the wider buffer is needed to minimize human disturbance to wildlife. Also to ensure that the large stand of mature trees is protected, and also to rectify the significant unauthorized clearing that occurred on this property in violation of a prior conservation board approval for this site. That's the extent of my comments, and I do not support approval of this plan because clearly it doesn't comply with the town's wetland permit issuance standards. Thank you.
Marty, I have a couple of questions. One is, we have not seen an overlay of the previous wetland buffer. I'm not sure it should be called a buffer, but the wetland and the natural vegetation area. And I believe that was before we required minimum buffer, the current standards of minimum buffers through submission of covenants.
Yeah, I can provide some clarification on that. The prior Conservation Board approval did not condition the permit upon establishment of a covenanted buffer. However, at the same time, the approved plan showed an extensive area of natural vegetation, and no authorization was given to clear that area as part of that permit. As I indicated at the last hearing, because the prior Conservation Board approved the survey and the current survey is of a different scale, you can easily overlay the two scales to compare the pre-existing area of natural vegetation on the west side of the pond with the current conditions today. That being said, as indicated at the prior hearing, I spent a considerable amount of time preparing my recommended alternate buffer sketch. I did everything possible to scale off the prior extent of natural vegetation, using every resource and database that we have. So my recommended buffer plan, I would say, was very accurate, not only with regards to taking in the pre-existing area natural vegetation adjacent to the pond that got cleared, but also taking in the large stand of mature trees on the west side of the pond.
So when you look at Daphne's latest sketch, is it your judgment that this sketch is greater than or less than that amount of previously previous natural vegetation around the pond?
I would say it's less than.
So the previous permit back in,
93.
93, just before this wetland law went into existence, you're saying there was a greater area of natural vegetation than what Daphne's sketch is offering.
Yes. And not only that, obviously, because the applicant has come forward with a plan to, for construction at the site, there is a need to offset the impacts of that construction in addition to reclaiming pre-existing areas of natural vegetation. So my plan was not only guided by that, but again guided by the extent of the existing large grove of trees west of the pond that of course provide significant values. The plan that I put forward did not request that the buffer be expanded to 75 feet, but did ask for a significantly larger naturally vegetated buffer than shows on the applicant's plan.
Is that Marty's plan?
I don't know.
Received June 6th. Okay. Daphne, can you respond to that?
Just to refresh your memory, this is only a portion of the survey. The property is much larger than this, and the buffer that Marty drew is identical to this buffer, except for this area. Everything else, she's amenable to covenanting as a buffer. That permit from 1993 was under a prior owner. It's literally permit number 157. That was done shortly after Chapter 325 came into effect. It did not require any vegetated buffers. It did say that you could not clear any wetlands, just like any permit would say. However, as I also iterated at the last meeting, my client took possession of this property in 2011. In the 30-year time frame between 1993 and now, 31 years, there were 16 hurricanes that I am aware of that caused a lot of damage to this area. My client has told me that she has not purposefully cleared anything on this property since her ownership in 2011. She may have taken down a tree that fell during a storm, as would most people on their property, but otherwise no intentional clearing has been done by my client. She inherited this property. She adores this property for its peace and serenity and wants to maintain that for her and her family. This is a summer house. I just want you to understand that the pond edge is literally lawn right now for the majority of this area. So this is a significant planting. It's going to be about anywhere between 35 and 55 feet, plus or minus, of plantings where right now she can walk down right to the edge of the pond. We discussed this, actually you, Mr. Chairman, came up with the in-between location that Mr. Shea's buffer went to about 60 feet landward of the wetlands. So this is an in-between kind of compromise because I did have a smaller buffer sketched initially. So this is a compromise for that. We have that arc in there so that she can continue to utilize that area where she's got a bunch of Adirondack chairs to enjoy the pond. It was agreed upon that we could plant this area in native ferns and perennials and grasses that would be low-lying. So if you were to sit in that location, you could still have a view of the pond and it not be impeded by full woods. So as I said, we utilized the list that was provided with the preliminary advisory report for all the plant species. All of these should be fine here and be really pretty when it's all done. The septic upgrade is huge because it's in close proximity to the pond right now. And this house, I believe, was built in the 60s. So I can't say whether or not that septic has been upgraded since then. But obviously, this board values highly upgrading to the latest alternative septic system technology for nitrogen reduction.
Daphne, it's not on the paper that you handed out. Could you give us an idea of the distance right where the 10-foot buffer is down to the pond edge?
Part of the reason that portion stayed at 10 feet from my initial sketch was to maintain that pathway from that existing stone stairway that's there, so that that was not impeded upon. And then the driveway is right on the other side of that. You can see the edge of the stone driveway.
Yes, I see that. I'm just,
So that from to the pond edge is about 25 feet.
okay, and then we have the 25 feet. Could you tell me what it is to the pond edge, to the wooden dock, actually?
It is
Probably about 50.
56.
How much?
I said around 50. She said 56.
And then from the 35, it's 59, 60 feet. And then it runs into the existing vegetation in conformance with Mr. Shea's sketch, primarily. And as I said, the rest of the buffer that was sketched is identical.
Do we have any record as to the types of, I shouldn't call them plantings because they're natural vegetation, but do we know roughly the, I guess the population, the density of the plantings, the density of the species in that area that says wetlands to be restored? I'm looking at what was growing there before. It's flagged as wetlands, even though right now it's grass.
Right, so I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, that it's flagged as wetlands on a bunch of tubolo trees, which are obligate wetland species. I'm not saying that I disagree with that boundary at all, but it's currently lawn. So I don't know what was there previously. The 1996 aerials are lousy, quite frankly. Once 2001 came along, they became much easier to see what's happening. But I mean, there could have been shrubs there based on what's happening around the rest of the pond. However, this house was built in the 60s, so I would imagine that if I built this house in the 60s, I would have left myself some kind of area adjacent to the pond to enjoy it. But I don't know. I wasn't born then, so. So we're showing primarily, what do I have, like 4 different ferns here, I believe. And then a few perennials and some Pennsylvania sedge and sawfrush in the pond area. And then the rest is all native shrubs, again, checked off from Marty's list that was provided.
So, just want to summarize just some of the issues that I'm hearing and seeing. And that is, right before us, we have something in black and white. This is what Daphne's offering. We have something in the file of what,
I couldn't find it. We have it.
You're looking for my sketch?
Yeah,
Yeah, here it is.
that,
It's right underneath your paperwork.
this is it.
this is it.
This is it.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So, Okay, there's the house.
Okay, so
This is
you're-
that stone. And then,
Well, you have,
there was another, oh, here we go.
this shaded area, Marty, by the stone steps. That's what you're proposing that as buffer as well?
I think he was, and one of the
Something-
objections, and Daphne could correct me, was that that takes away from the view. And then it impedes using the steps, it becomes all too condensed. And so that was why she came up with the 10-foot buffer there. She's still
So-
restoring natural, plantings.
And again, as I stated at the last meeting, all of the proposed development is in line with this green shaded area that we initially proposed. Nothing is happening except for a small parking area expansion within this portion of the property. All the development is here. It's a second floor
So,
addition and
Let
deck
me
expansion.
continue. We've got those two sketches, the Marty sketch, the Daphne sketch. We also have this somewhat amorphous area that was natural vegetation 30 years ago. That's not precisely on anybody's sketch because we don't know exactly where that was. The other thing we haven't talked too much about is what that was compared to what this is going to be. In other words, how do we evaluate the quality of the wetland after this permit is executed? I'm not sure how we can evaluate that and how we can compare that to what was there back in
I don't think
If you don't know what was there,
1993.
how can you compare
We
it at all?
can't.
Well,
You have quite an extensive period of time where it was lawn only. What was before there, nobody can state definitively. So speculating is not healthy. All the lawn is being restored with active plantings. We, together with Daphne, were directing where that amorphous area was sketched out last time, and she put it on a neater survey this time. But this is very close, or if not the same as what we discussed the last meeting, and directed her to come back with. She came back with a planning plan, came back with an agreement to upgrade the septic, which is not to be denied. It's not even a requirement or suggestion of anyone here up until this point. But they're willing to do that, and I personally think that she's done enough work that I'm okay with this. That's me. I mean, we did sort of direct her to come back with this last time.
Right. No, I agree with Tom, and she's going to be putting plantings that come from Marty's list that, will be helping to restore the area and the ecosystem. And the construction is not adding a bedroom, or it's, just for basically, Daphne, like a gym.
Yeah, it's a sitting room /
Yeah.
gym off the master bedroom on the second floor.
And
So-
it's, and it's
so,
not
you know,
directly adjacent to this area. So as far as the nexus between the development and this area, you have to be careful with that as well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
one other question, Daphne. There's two spots that say S in the
Oh,
buffer.
those are two shad bush that I was proposing in the understory, which are like a smaller shrub / tree that flowers very nicely in May. I thought it would be nice. But otherwise, everything else would be low growing in that area.
Then I'm hearing that
Yeah, I think she's doing an extensive amount of work here at a distance from the actual construction. So yes, I'm okay with this. This is what we asked for, this is what we got.
Okay.
It may not be totally what is asked for, but this is what we asked for and we got it.
I probably would have given her even more.
Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak in this application? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Daphne? And for the planning board, the 292-39V resolution, Jacqueline Crease.
Marty Shea, Chief
Have
Environmental
I got
Analyst
Zeb's?
for the town.
I think I already gave it to you.
Three game back.
There is a final subdivision map before you that's being considered by the planning board, which calls for lot line modifications for two lots that contain wetlands, one of which has frontage on the Little Peconic Bay. The Conservation Board had forwarded an initial advisory report that had recommended that the extent of construction be significantly scaled back. Those comments were largely ignored by the planning board. Notwithstanding that no changes were made in the allowable construction, there is a plan before you that shows how the subdivided lots would be configured. We had in our second advisory report acknowledging that the planning board was not going to ask the landowner to scale back the construction. We had asked that buffers be maximized on the bay side and in the side yards. And the applicant has, the planning board has agreed to seek maximize buffers to offset the impacts of the construction. Those buffers don't as yet show on the subdivision map, but the final conditional approval, which is before you, does require that those buffers be established. One of the benefits of this plan is that there is an existing residence that stands on pilings above an eroding bayfront beach. That residence will be demolished and replaced by new residence and pool and IAOWTS sanitary system for the landward on the property. And although the footprint is excessive, it does allow for significant buffering on the baseline. So recognizing that, there is a resolution before you that looks to approve the final conditional the final conditions that would be placed on the subdivision map with regards to wetlands preservation and natural buffering.
Motion to send these comments to the planning board?
Actually, we're gonna,
Motion to approve the draft conditions of the final approval for the subdivision of Jacqueline Crease.
so I'll read the resolution. Resolve that the Conservation Board hereby approves the draft conditions of final approval for the subdivision of Jacqueline Crease, which were referred by the Planning Board to the Conservation Board on October 23rd, 2024. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Advisory reports to the trustees, 142 Town Point LLC.
This is an application that's been forwarded to the Conservation Board by the Board of Trustees with regards to a dock and a catwalk that's planned at a redeveloped property that did receive a Conservation Board permit. The property is on Town Point Road. It has frontage on North Sea Harbor, and it contains vegetated tidal wetlands. There are several recommended comments. First is that based upon a field assessment completed on November 5, 2024, the proposed dock construction should not be permitted in its intended location, as its installation would result in irreparable damage to a healthy stand of saltwater cordgrasses. Rather, the dock should be repositioned within the centrally located, unvegetated sand beach, where damage to wetlands vegetation would be averted, and where, based upon the February 22nd, 2024 bathymetric map prepared by Sea Level Mapping, there is likewise sufficient water depth. Second, the cordgrasses need to be preserved intact, as they are invaluable for erosion control and as nursery habitat for juvenile fish, red mussels, blue crabs, and other crustaceans. Their rootstock, stems, and seeds are also an important food source for brant, black duck, Canada geese, rail, seaside sparrows, and muskrat. Additionally, cordgrasses improve water quality by filtering out contaminants. Thirdly, the earthen access pathway, which has already been cut and established in excess of the allowable maximum 4 feet width through the required covenanted wetland non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer along the easterly property line, will need to be revegetated in the interest of rerouting the pathway perpendicular to the shoreline at the preferred central location for the dock. And lastly, the plan used of 60% light penetrating open grade deck boards supported by untreated posts for the purposes of constructing the dock/catwalk and steps is otherwise consistent with Conservation Board environmental building standards.
Motion to send those comments
To the
to
trustees.
trustees. Sorry.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Now, the next is to a resolution to schedule the 2025 meeting dates, and those are listed before you, which are the second and fourth Wednesday of January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November.
Is November 2nd and 4th?
December.
Usually 1 and 3.
Christmas Eve?
Let's,
December 24th, having something
We're
Christmas
gonna-
Eve?
I'm supposed to
shall we meet here Christmas Eve?
I won't
I
be
don't
here.
think so.
No, it's the 17th. It's changed to the 17th.
Okay, when is Thanksgiving next year?
The 27th.
So you want to switch both of those?
So, then it says,
Yeah, on this page, it's separately, it says November 5th and 19th.
Yeah.
On yours, it says
then
the
it-
12th and the 26th. On the
no,
resolution.
no, there.
That's
Look at the bottom here.
No,
top paragraph.
that's the
It's-
whereas.
It's the bottom.
Whereas,
No, we
okay,
gotta read the legal stuff.
okay. 5th
Uh,
and
can you read
19th,
this ahead of
3rd
us?
and 17th. Okay, so forget that, then it's
Yeah.
not Christmas Eve.
Okay, so that means that it's gonna be the second and fourth Wednesday of every month except for November, December, and that'll be the first and third.
Correct.
Okay. So we should set our phones now to alert us.
We'll let you just text us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Uh,
missed it today, right?
So, the resolution before us, is there a motion to approve these dates?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Administrative wetland permits are in your packets. Resolution of conditional approval, A 024029 George Vickers and Deborah Vickers, and this is postponed to November 20th, 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Preliminary review of secret determination, A 024001 Oak Street LLC.
Marty Shea, Chief Environmental Analyst for the town. There is a preliminary advisory report on file dated October 16, 2024. This application relates to an existing residentially developed property that abuts the Sag Swamp. As indicated by the advisory report, property is located on Oak Street in the hamlet of Bridgehampton. Property has some history before this board, in that you had previously authorized various residential improvements, inclusive of a breezeway, a conversion of a detached garage, and a swimming pool. As you may recall, the prior landowner also had extensive basement flooding issues, so they had to install some of the best available technology in terms of addressing the flooding and dewatering needs, and making sure the dewatering was not going to impact the adjacent fragile wetlands. You had conditioned your prior permits upon not only establishment of a covenanted wetland preservation area, naturally vegetated buffer, you'd also asked that various native landscape areas be established at the site. The property since has had a history of non-compliance with regards to disturbance to revegetated buffers. More recently, the landowner expanded the pervious drive into the covenanted buffer. Never established the native landscape areas that were required either. So what this application is all about is resolving those outstanding issues, also allowing for some additional hardscape improvements. The landowner and I have come to agreement on a sensible plan for the property that would call for an expansion, not only elimination of any encroachments within the buffer and redesign of the driveway, but an expansion of the existing covenanted natural buffer. The recommendations also call for a significant supplemental native revegetation. There are issues such as cleanup and removal of discarded landscape debris in the adjacent abutting wetlands that's being addressed, and some of the hardscape that they had sought approval for. I recommended that those improvements be deleted from the project plans, which they have agreed to. So we do have a plan before us tonight that will address and resolve the outstanding matters at this property and enhance protection for the on-site wetlands. So we do have sufficient information to make a determination. Accordingly, I'm recommending that the hearing requirement be waived.
Are there time requirements in the permit that require them to fix what they did wrong before we start letting them do anything else? Or?
Well, the term of any conservation board permit is 3 years.
So we could be 3 years from now and they haven't rectified the stuff that they did wrong?
No, not necessarily. In light of the drought that we're going through right now, I am actually recommending against landowners completing their required revegetation at this time until the weather conditions significantly improve. So the term of the permit is consistent with the term that this board sets for all permits, and most of the applications that come before you are conditioned upon not only native revegetation, but reclamation of areas that were disturbed without approval.
Marty,
Yes.
how much are you increasing the buffer from what to what?
There is a plan in the file that was just submitted. The property is very constrained. So we're maximizing the buffer on the east side. It'll come right up to a small concrete patio. The driveway is going to be shifted. It'll come right up to the driveway. And it'll be expanded along the west side of the house as well. There's only so much opportunity for buffer expansion on this property. The remainder of the property would have very minimal lawn and hardscape and improvements that this board had previously approved.
But how many feet? You didn't answer the question.
Well, the buffer on the east side is being maximized, which is resulting in an increase of about 10 to 15 feet. On the west side, it's being expanded by about 10 to 15 feet as well. The difficulty is that the adjacent property, which does have conservation board approvals, has a more extensive area of clearing extending further down to the wetlands. So although some minimal additional area could have been incorporated, it's not really going to provide functional habitat. The goal is always to create buffers that are contiguous, wholly contiguous with existing natural vegetation and configured in a block so that they're more functional rather than as strips. And if it was needed to be expanded further, it would really have to be done in strips that would be largely non-functional. The goal is always to maximize the parallel buffer. So there's little opportunity to create any additional significant parallel buffer at this site.
Motion to waive the public hearing?
Is there a second to that motion to waive the public
I'm wondering
hearing?
why he's hesitating.
You don't always have to be the one to second everything.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Opposed? A 024031, Brendan J. Spano and Danielle Merrill.
This application has been filed for residentially developed property in the hamlet of East Quogue. Property has frontage on Davis Creek and contains state and town regulated wetlands. Property benefits from a small home. The applicant is seeking to square off that home to provide some minimal deck area. The deck area would take in 246 square feet, would be 12.5 feet by 19.7 feet. It is an area where there is already slates at grade. There is also an unauthorized kayak rack at the property, just wetlands that needs to be addressed, as well as a fence plan for the property. As you can see, I have provided the applicant with a sketch calling for a covenanted wetland preservation area and a naturally vegetated buffer, which would take in the area where we have some large tupelos, a maple, and cedar. Would take in the sloping lawn while still allowing for access for maintenance and safety purposes around the periphery of the residence. So this is a very small piece of property. There's only so much opportunity with regards to reclamation, while still allowing the applicants to use the pre-existing non-conforming residence. It is an application for which we have sufficient information to make a determination. As such, recommending that the hearing requirement be waived.
Motion to waive the public hearing.
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325, of the Town Code. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 024034, Timothy Hayes and Rhea Hayes.
So this application relates to a property on Arbutus Lane in Hampton Bays. It contains extensive flooded freshwater wetlands that extend into neighboring properties. There is a preliminary advisory report on file dated November 4, 2024. This freshwater wetland system was once significantly larger, but a large portion was filled in for construction of the home in the mid-1980s. That being said, it is an area where there is significant plant and animal diversity, and there are extensive forested areas that have been protected on abutting lots as conditions of wetland permits, and then one of the adjacent lots has been preserved by the town. So the property benefits by a swimming pool and elevated wood deck, which was built prior to the effective date of the wetlands law. The applicant is seeking to construct a new pool and is amenable to reposition and reconfiguration of that pool, and would like to install some patio around the periphery of the pool as well. As shown, I have forwarded a sketch to the applicant showing an alternate design for the new pool, which acknowledges, which maximizes setbacks from the wetlands while still acknowledging the need to meet the rear and side yard setbacks as per the building and zoning code. I have asked that large and authorized shed in the southerly portion of the property, that be relocated to the north part of the parcel. There is also a smaller shed that straddles the north property line with the adjacent lot. I've asked that that be put in a conforming location as well. The landowner has a very informal stone patio on the roadside of the front of the residence. I asked that that be scaled back. The edge of the wetlands is partly rimmed by a low rock wall and ornamental grasses. I've asked that those rocks and grasses be removed, that the pre-existing grades be reclaimed, and that significant native revegetation be accomplished at the site. This is an application for which we have sufficient information to make a determination. As such, I'm recommending that the hearing requirement be waived.
Motion to waive public hearing.
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325-80 of the Town Code. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 024040 Zario Securanza.
This application relates to an existing vacant forested lot on Pleasure Drive in the hamlet of Flanders. The lot is located in the central Pine Barrens and is adjacent to extensive freshwater wetlands to the north. The concept development plan for the site does conform with the required wetland building buffer and sanitary setbacks as per code. I did need to reflag the wetland boundary, so I've asked that that be picked up on the survey, and that minor adjustments be made to the drive location to ensure that the required setbacks are met. The property is also subject to clearing restrictions as per the Aquifer Protection and Overlay District. The extent of clearing and site disturbance as shown in this plan will be scaled back significantly in order to comply with section 330-67, which is protection of natural vegetation. The lot is located in the Central Pine Barrens Core Preservation Area. However, the subdivision did receive a hardship exemption permit that allowed for the creation of two lots, one to the immediate south where there's an existing home, and then it allowed for a new home on this lot while putting the remainder of the subdivision plat in preservation. So the plans may need to be adjusted, but the project plans will be fully compliant with the wetland permit issuance standards set forth in Chapter 325. As we have sufficient information to make a determination, I'm recommending that the public hearing requirement be waived.
Motion to waive the public hearing.
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325-80 of the Town Code. All in favor? Opposed? A024 blank, Bernice Leventhal and Sarah Thompson. Can we just,
Just leave this off the agenda until we actually have an application.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
fine.
and the last is to resolution to withdraw permit application A021084 Judy P. Gallagher and A021085 SCI Catarpa. We've been doing these together all along, so we can continue to do them together. And we had spoken to Maury to contact, do you want to say anything about this?
I have communicated with the agent for both applications, and they are not ready to go forward with a shore stabilization plan. And she's also having to contend with family issues and personal issues. So she agreed that it would be best to withdraw the applications at this time and to come back to the board when she's ready. Thank you.
So the resolutions are written up individually in our packet, so let's do them individually. Let's start with A021084 Judy P. Gallagher.
Motion to accept the withdrawal.
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby accepts the withdrawal without prejudice of wetlands permit application number A021084. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A021085 SCI Catarpa.
Motion to accept the withdrawal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's know. The Southampton Town Conservation Board accepts the withdrawal without prejudice of wetlands permit application number A021085. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
November 20th.